California earthquake. Deep creep found near San Andreas fault line. Does that mean that the big one is near? Thousands of earthquakes near the San Andreas fault line have uncovered a so-called deep crack below California. But is it evidence of the big one? This is published recently, Express UK, September 19th, by Sebastian Kelly. The geoscientists from the University of Massachusetts of Amherst found evidence of an unusual phenomena about 6.2 miles below the San Bernardino Basin. That's about 10 kilometers below. The deep creep could be responsible for a spate of unusual earthquake formations. They were recorded over a 36-year period in California. The professor of geosciences at UMA, Michael Cook, said this unusual seismic activity is often seen in roughly a third of the hundreds of small earthquakes that strike in between the bigger earthquakes. The earthquake expert and his advisor, his doctoral student Jennifer Bayer, published these findings in the journal Geophysical Research Letters, and they found small tremors adjacent to the Californian fault lines deform or move in different ways to the major earth-shattering earthquakes on the faults. As we said before, these are in between the huge earthquakes. The scientists wrote in their study, over the past 36 years, seismic stations have recorded the style of deformation from thousands of small earthquakes in the San Bernardino Basin in California. Further analysis of this deep creek could help the experts better understand fault loading in subduction zones and also to better understand earthquake risks in this whole area. They say within this basin, many earthquakes below the 10-kilometer depth show deformation that does not match what we expect for this region during the current period between large damaging earthquakes along the San Jacinto and San Andreas faults. Now, how is all of this linked to the so-called big one that's expected, the big earthquake? Is the deep crack linked to the big one? This seismic phenomenon is not a feature of the big earthquake, but could help seismologists better understand the tremors and earthquake activity in the area where this big one, the big major huge earthquake, is expected to strike. The big one is a potential mega earthquake, magnitude 8 or stronger, and it could one day rip through California along the San Andreas fault line. Similar earthquakes tore through San Francisco more than 112 years ago in 1906, and they destroyed sections of the city to the ground, killing 3,000 people. The magnitude 7.8 earthquake was the deadliest earthquake in U.S. history, and many fear another one could strike in the near future. According to Peggy Helweg, the seismologist at the University of California, Berkeley, a powerful quake like this will strike one day, but no one knows when. She said there's a 99.9% chance that there will be a damaging earthquake, magnitude greater than 6.7, somewhere in California within the next 30 years. Now, this is not the first time we've heard seismologists claiming that it will take place within the next 30 years, which is, of course, not good news. They say, quote, "We don't have any idea exactly where and when such a quake can happen." Earthquake experts say the tremors on this scale roughly erupt every 100 years or so, leading some to believe California is, of course, overdue for the big one. There's no viable way to predict when an earthquake of this size will strike, even if Dr. Cook and his team have unraveled some of the mystery surrounding the California fault lines. The USGS, that's the United States Geological Survey, claims no one can pinpoint future earthquakes with any degree of certainty. The only thing scientists can do is look at the past and the current data to forecast how many might hit in the future. This is why Cook and his study team of scientists conclude that seismologists did not use the information recorded by these small earthquakes in the San Bernardino Basin to predict loading of the nearby San Andreas and San Jacinto faults. The earthquake expert said our earthquake catalogs is growing every year, and we can see smaller and smaller ones every year. So we thought that why not take advantage of the networks we've built, and we could look at them in more detail. We don't want to wait around for the faults to move in a damaging earthquake. We want to take advantage of all the tinier earthquakes happening all the time in order to understand how the San Andreas and San Jacinto are loaded. Quote, if we can understand how they're being loaded, maybe we can understand better when these faults will begin to rupture, end quote.